/jobs. Democracy Now! Produced with Mike Burke, Renee Feltz, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes, Nermeen Sheikh, Maria Terracena, Tammy Warnock, Tarina Nadura, Sam Alcoff, Tamer Studio, John Hamilton, Rabbi Karen, Hani Masood. Special thanks to Safwat Nasal. Our executive director is Julie Crosby. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
The viewpoints expressed in this program are the opinions of the people expressing them, and not necessarily those of Fresh Air Incorporated, its staff, or its board of directors.
Hi, this is Al McFarlane, host of The Conversation with Al McFarlane. You're listening to 90.3 FM, KFAI, Minneapolis. I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along. A lot going on in the country and the world. I'm so pleased to be part of the KFAI family and the ability to connect, and particularly following my esteemed colleague, Democracy Now! That's such a great program, and it's an honor to continue the vibe of being relevant. Amy Goodman does such a wonderful job and is on point addressing the issues that affect us locally and globally. Well, today, as always, we promise a robust conversation. And over the past week, I've had the pleasure of talking with friends of mine who are involved in presenting the upcoming edition of Rondo Festival, Rondo Days 2025. And because I wanted them to connect with the KFAI audience as well, I invited Gail Smaller, who's one of the principal organizers, to come back today to spend and to sort of review some of the things we talked about, but also to make a special invitation to you here in KFAI land and on our kfai.org universe. Of course, we're streaming live to our other social media platforms as well. We stream every day to Black Press USA. We stream to the Black Press Facebook page and the Insight News Facebook page. We stream to LinkedIn as well. And if you are connecting on any of those channels, those platforms, we thank you for being a part of this. We'd love to have your feedback, your comment, your engagement. Let us know what you think. If you got memories, suggestions, recommendations, criticism, we welcome all of it. And in addition, my glasses are fogging up here. In addition to Gail, I have in the studio one of the grand masters of cultural meaning making and cultural historic preservation, and that is Gary Hines. He's one of the founders and creators of the inimitable Sounds of Blackness. We have grown up over the past generation inspired by and inspired to keep our heads to the sky and to be optimistic and to believe and to know that enough is enough. And now Gary's coming back with an overriding testimony, a testament that tells us that we are unstoppable. It's a new release by Sounds of Blackness. We're going to sample a little of that today, but over the course of the next hour, I'm just going to have fun hanging with two friends of mine, people that I hold in high esteem, who both are rooted in the spirit of our people, the spirit of African people, of Black people here and throughout the diaspora. And I say that with this additional insight that our rootedness in being Africans in the New World, being African Americans, is a reflection of our quintessential rootedness in what it means to be a. And we, in our interaction, our vision, our work, our community, have the unique capacity to generate a sense of inclusion that includes every living being on the planet, without contradiction and without compromise. It's who we are, and it's what we do. And that I even extend, Gary and Gail, to our affinity to and with the other living beings, not just human beings, but the animal world, right? And the microbiotic world and the plant world. We have a relationship with all of that, and we see it as connected, and that every breath we take is a breath that is consistent with and in concert and lockstep with the unfolding of the beauty of humanity and of nature itself. We're at the center of that, and we know that, and we move in that way. And even Gail talk about that extends to our appreciation of the inanimate, the rocks, the sand, the soil, the connectedness, the cosmic, all together. And so we represent a affirm and affirmation of this comprehensive and cosmic awareness, and therefore we also represent the ability to declare that we are unstoppable. That's what we're doing today here. Brothers, welcome. And I see we're also joined by phone, I think, by Lord Jamar. I'm going to have you introduce him, Gail.
Yes.
First of all, Gail, let me start with you, and then we'll come back to Gary, and let me weave the show today. It's going to be great. Gail, jump in, brother.
Yeah. So thank you for having us.
Lean into your microphone. Your mic is a little weak there. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me better now? Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for having us a lot, Mr. McFarlane. I know
Please call me Al.
Lord Jamal has to leave pretty soon, so I just wanted to introduce him first. As we're moving towards Rondo Days and keeping that spirit alive, one of my favorite groups of all time is Brand Nubians, whose Lord Jamal is representing right now. So we're really blessed to be able to bring them to our neighborhood, have them give their influence and insight through their music that they provided me, that helped me develop as a conscious young man growing up listening to their music. And so I think, you know, the whole Rondo community, everybody that comes out will be blessed to be able to be a part of this experience. So I'd like to introduce Brother Lord Jamar.
Peace, brothers. How are you?
Doing well, brother.
Hey, brother. Hotel.
Yeah,
Hotel,
great.
brother.
Thank you for joining us, man. Talk about the vision, the work, the mission, Lord Jamar.
Ah, man, the vision, the work is just, providing knowledge of self and speaking truth to power at all times, and just the empowerment of our people here, in North America. That's what we do. That's what hip hop came out of. I understand, Rondo Day came out of basically the destruction of the community. And that's the same thing, that hip hop came out of. We had a highway. I was born in the Bronx in 1968, and we had a highway come through the Cross Bronx Expressway, and it broke up many different households and communities in our neighborhoods. And a lot of people, white people left, and black people were forced into a poverty state because of it, and but good things came from it as well, such as this hip hop culture that we have today.
And so if you would, brother, talk about, hip hop, its emergence and what fuels it. You mentioned, the crisis out of which it grew, but there's something that I believe is both eternal and global in the hip hop experience. What do you think? Am I on the right track in describing it that way?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, hip hop is something that's, it's in our soul, it's in our DNA. It speaks to the God in us, when society tries to tell us we are less than, hip hop was a music where we were able to exalt ourselves and lift ourselves up regardless what others had to say. When they tried to take music out of the school systems and, take instruments away and all that type of stuff, we said, okay, well, we took this turntable and turned that into an instrument, so it just shows the indomitable spirit of us as original people. And yeah, that's the soul of hip hop.
Gail, make the invitation. Let's invite people to Rondo to check out Brand Nubian and Lord Jamar.
So
absolutely, Moni Love will be in the house as well.
Exactly. Yeah. If you don't know, make sure that you come out this Saturday, July 19th. We'll be at the MLK Park in St. Paul. We'll have Moni Love and the phenomenal Brand Nubians representing for our community that day. So make sure you come out. It's free to everybody. Bring your kids. Sister Mercedes has put together an amazing kid zone. She's a comic book artist. She'll have she's done a scavenger hunt that's taken them through the comic books and replaying a lot of the old pillars within the Rondo community, a lot of the stores. The kids will get to really be entrenched into the history and understanding what that Rondo community meant to so many of us, and why we do what we do. So make sure you come out this Saturday if you're available for an amazing free show and a lot of good food.
I was gonna say, so I have a feeling there's gonna be good food out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just have a feeling.
Yeah. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Lord Jamar, I wanted to send a shout out to you as well, man. This is Gary Hines, born and raised in Yonkers, right down the freeway from you, brother.
Okay, yes, sir. I used to run
The
around
914.
Yonkers a lot as a young man.
Yes, sir. The 914.
That's right. In the house.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
I wanted to push this conversation between two New Yorkers, between Lord Jamar and Gary Hines.
Well, we actually from Westchester, which is even more particular, from New York, because they call us the suburbs, but Yonkers and New Rochelle, we are right outside of the Bronx,
That's
so
right.
it's like
that's right.
we rubbing elbows, but we're not fully, we almost have the best of both worlds in a way coming up.
Right. New Rochelle, right, and and Mount Vernon, which is where Denzel is from, all of Westchester.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
all right.
Help us with, if you got a minute, hang on. I want you to hear a little of this new piece that Gary and Sounds of Blackness released. We've got 20 seconds. And then I wanted to have a conversation about it. Jared, why don't you drop that piece? It's called We're Unstoppable.
Can't let nothing stop us now. Unstoppable.
That's awesome.
I was supposed to sit still during that, Mr. McFarlane. We can't sit still and listen to that.
Right. I was gonna say, you don't hear music like that too much anymore. Those type of harmonies and that choir type sound, Yeah.
Congratulations, Mr. Hines. It sounds like you got another hit on your hands, brother.
Oh yeah,
thank you, man.
Right there.
It's a blessing. Thank you all. And we like to think of We're Unstoppable as the new optimistic, because in this day and time, with everything that's coming against us, we need to know all the way from Mother Africa, all we've been through. DEI rollbacks are not going to stop us. That's in the lyrics of the song. And so that's why we know we're unstoppable. The ancestor energy guides us. That's in the song. And we need to know that, be reminded of that as a people, and especially our youth.
And the lyrics also include the phrase, "They're not like us," right?
Not like, that's right.
Bringing it all together. And so let me ask you both as musicians to talk about inspiration and what fuels the fire in your belly and the genius of your mind and your heart. Lord Jamar, if you would first, what is it that keeps you grinding and keeps you motivated and fighting every day?
Oh man, I think it's part of the fighting every day part is, I guess, just something that's just in me. Maybe it came from my father, rest in peace. But yeah, as far as inspiration, where musical inspiration comes, it comes from different places at different times, But I definitely need motivation in order to make music. Like some people are able to just, write a rhyme every day or just make a beat every day. I'm not one of those guys. I have to hear something or something has to come in my brain, and I'm like, yeah, that, And it motivates me to go after it. And once I'm motivated, then that's when it can really materialize into something tangible.
Gary, same process for you, or how's it different for you? Is it different for you?
Pretty much the same, my brother. You know, there was a great country artist named Chet Atkins who was a great songwriter, and he was asked in his interviews how he wrote such great songs. And part of my answer is what his answer was, which I believe in. He said, "There are no songwriters; all music is given." You know, and so really, what it becomes our job as producers and so forth is to not mess it up. I could have said it more poignantly, but
That was pretty
Nah, we
clear,
definitely
sir.
channeling things at times. Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
we're just vessels. But like my brother said, events inspire. And part of the inspiration behind We're Unstoppable, Pastor Jamal Bryant down in Houston, he's been online all year talking about what else can they do to us. You know, don't get weary. We've been through more than this: lynchings, castration, children sold across the Atlantic. You know, DEI is not going to stop us. We're unstoppable. And then my dear friend Angela Bassett, when she got her latest award and said, you know, we're unstoppable. So it's like, you know what? This needs an anthem and a theme, and we can't call ourselves Sounds of Blackness and not continue to contribute to the movement. So the current innovation of it is We're Unstoppable.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome. And Gil, what does it mean to you as both an artist and as an organizer and one of the emerging, leaders in community? You've been doing this work a long time. You're part of a legacy of leadership, and compliments to you, kudos to you, first of all. But as you're able to curate these experiences for the presentation and their preservation through Rondo Days, what does it mean to you?
I mean, for me, it's just, one of the challenges for me as a Black male growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in was understanding the varieties and the different ways that people submit to things, and understanding that there's an ego involved, understanding that there's pride involved, but then finding the strength to be able to submit to the energy of my grandparents, my great grandparents, my parents, and aligning myself with things that I felt around their vision, even though it was propelling me to do things that weren't actually popular in the time of me coming of age, because it was old school ways. It was finding that strength in me to be able to submit to those old school ways, and understanding that there was a quality of Blackness that existed prior to me existing that was going to be the foundation that would carry our generations forward, and teaching my children about that and trying to be an example to younger men and women in the community that may be watching me that I don't know, and always kind of, moving with that submissive spirit and understanding that I'm connected to everything. So when I see the young brother on meth on Broadway, I know that that's me, and there's no separation. And being able to submit in that way has been able to allow me to move in a way that's humble and execute the vision of my parents, and Mr. McFarlane, like that's really what I do. I support Northside stuff for my mom. I support Rondo for my dad's legacy, and just being committed to that and training my children to uphold the legacy of their grandparents and their great grandparents. And that's kind of my motivation and what I do.
And leading, by example is the key. Lord Jamar, I talk and think about language and words. I'm a wordsmith. I'm a journalist, a reporter. And the idea of naming is important. And I'm reading, for example, you can't see it, but I'm just reading a document called Senhat. And this is a multilingual translation of ancient hieroglyphic text. And it's a story that was written about 4,000 years ago. And what marvels me is that the complexity of thought and language, because we think that what we're doing is it, and we're modern and we're hip, but we're not.
Right.
And these thoughts and these relationships and these analyses have been around a long, long time. And so the ability to name things shows up, and the power of naming shows up in the reading that I'm doing, looking at ancient Egyptian writing. And so I come to the Brand Nubian.
Right.
Brand Nubian, what is the power of the vision of the naming that you represent, that you carry, that you are? Talk about what it means, Brand Nubian.
Well, that's a good question. you know, and I happen to be the one that came up with the name.
Hmm.
So at the time, you know, I'm a member of the 5% Nation, you know, the nation of gods and earths. But at the time, you know, I would study a lot of different things. I would read a lot of different literature and books. And at the time, the brother Dr. York, now some people, you know, they don't mess with him or whatever, but you know, he had a lot of good information at the time. And he, in his books, he was calling our people Nubian. You know, I've heard the word before, but that was the time when it was being used frequently. And to me, it was a way of, you know, trying to bring like an African pride to black people, but there might have been a stigmatism against the word African. So it was almost like a way to, you know, put a different type of moniker on it and bring some pride towards blackness, you know? So I wanted to incorporate that Nubian title. And then I'm thinking Nubian, brand new, you know, I'm like a play on words, something that's catchy. And I'm like, our brand of music is Nubian. You know, we are a brand new group because really the guy, Grand Poobah, who got us, you know, into the game, he was in a group before us called Master of Ceremonies. So when we were doing this was a brand new thing, you know. So I'm thinking brand new, brand Nubian, and that's kind of how it came about, you know.
That's awesome, brother, because as I'm sure you also know, the kingdom, the Nubian kingdom, you know, goes back at least 10,000 BC. They're not even sure how far. And
Absolutely.
once incorporated Egypt and Ethiopia and the Sudan, where the first pyramids were,
Exactly.
the world kingdom, you know, ruling the world, Nubian. So it's so appropriate, brother. So my hat's off to you.
And
Thank
it
you.
worked. It worked. You know, when I was digging through Music Land, man, going through it, I seen Brand Nubian and grabbed the album right
Yeah,
away
baby.
because of the name. You know, it's so.
Right, but if we would have been the new Africans or something,
I might not have grabbed it,
you
right?
know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
That's
Like,
kind of
I
corny,
don't
right?
know
Like,
about that.
but
You
that
know?
brand Nubian, man, that
Yeah,
hit,
yeah.
like the wordplay, the usage of Nubian, like I caught it and it just grabbed me. And then when I started listening to it and hearing the consciousness in the lyrics, man, it was a perfect fit, and you won a fan over with that. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Let me tell you all the story. First of all, I'm Alan McFarlane. You're listening to the conversation with Alan McFarlane here on KFAI and across our social media platforms. I'm talking with Lord Jamar of Brand Nubian. He'll be here this Saturday for the Rondo Days event over at MLK Center in St. Paul. Also talking with Gail Smaller, who represents the organizer of the event, the keeper of the flame, Rondo Avenue Inc., and also Maestro Gary Hines, the source for Sounds of Blackness, and we have introduced his new cut, We're Unstoppable. I always remember with fondness, Gary, and I love telling the story how we ran across each other in the airport, Kokoto Airport in Accra, Ghana. I believe it
Yes,
was
sir.
1994. And the sounds, you were there with Stevie Wonder, and I
That's
was
right.
showing up with Babington and a group from Minnesota doing
Oh, I
a
can't hear.
mentorship training project in Ghana. We're there 10 days, I believe. But I saw you in the airport, and we met under signage in the airport that talked about the event that you had attended, which was called Panifest. And I think you were
Manifest.
there as Panifest 93 or 94. I'm not sure which one it was, but
94, yeah.
94. But the theme was the reemergence of African civilization.
Civilization. I
And
remember.
just that theme knocked me out. I
Yes.
hadn't thought about it like that. And so that's the power of words and of thought. But Gary, talk about how that both influenced you, that trip, that visit, but also, you know, what you see happening in the world today. Let me throw one thing out that you guys can respond to or not, if you're up on it or not. I'm watching videos of this brother out of Burkina Faso. And the brother's name is, let me think, I just dropped it, Captain Ibrahim Traore. I'm going to talk about him a little bit, but if you guys know something about what he's doing and the movement that's emerging, love to get your feedback on it. Gary, what about this idea of language, of words, of nomenclature, and the power of the definition and the responsibility to name and to claim?
Yes, sir. I remember that so vividly, so poignantly, Brother Al. And re-emergence of African civilization. We have a song that I know you know, Sounds of Blackness does, called Kingdoms, where we talk about Ghana, Mali, Songhai, and some of the many other kingdoms. And the last lyric of that says, kingdoms call for us to build them again. So when we saw that re-emergence of Africa, it's like, okay, our brothers and sisters across in the motherland, and like I say, we this is not just an adornment, you know. One person once said to me, a quick side note said, why do you wear that? You weren't born in Africa. I said, no, but Africa is born in me.
That's right.
And so, you know, so that was that re-emergence of African civilization, connection with Stevie Wonder, who, as you know, has joint citizenship in Ghana as well. Was all very deliberate. It was life-affirming, life-changing, to answer your question, brother. And I'll close with this. Years before, in Richard Pryor's movie, Rest His Soul, where he had gone to the motherland and came back and stopped using the N-word and said, and told everybody, go to Africa, you'll never be the same. It's life-changing. Richard Pryor was right. It is a life-changing experience, and I encourage every listener and viewer today with Al McFarlane's conversation to make it part of your life's effort to make at least one sojourn to the motherland, because like Richard Pryor said, you'll never be the same.
You won't be. It's really amazing. And so I mentioned the name Ibrahim Traore, and if you listeners heard, I invite you to go to YouTube. And a lot of what's coming out around him is AI generated. Some people are questioning the authenticity of some of it, but the spirit of all of it, I think, is amazing. Ibrahim Traore is a soldier captain who, in a coup, became the head of state of Burkina Faso. He followed in the mold of a legendary African leader named Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara, I think a generation prior, had attempted to begin to nationalize the resources of the Burkina Faso community so that they had a policy and a practice of developing the natural resources for the benefit of the people of Burkina Faso. That amid a history of colonial and neo-colonial exploitation that meant that Africans had to surrender all of the gold and all of the minerals and all of the productivity that their land and that their labor produced for the enrichment of Europeans as part of the general history between Europeans and their conquest of African people over the past 500 years. He is saying no and encouraging African young people in particular and leaders there to renegotiate by, first of all, basing their actions on an affirmation and appreciation and the non-negotiability of African dignity.
Yes.
Your dignity is not negotiable, and you have a right and an obligation to stand up. The name Burkina Faso, it used to be called Guinea-Bissau, I think, or it was a different name, colonial name, but they renamed it to Burkina Faso. The name, talking about name again, means what? The land of upright men. How do you name yourself? We name ourselves the land of upright men.
Yes.
And the principle is, if you are upright, you stand upright, you fight for what you believe in, and you resist the bullies that feel they can just roll over you and take yours as if you don't exist, you don't matter. That's what is happening there. I don't know if you guys have followed any of that. Gail, are you familiar at all with any of the stuff with
I am not.
Check him out.
Yeah,
check him out. And listeners, if you haven't checked out Traore, I invite you to. Some people are saying, well, this guy is like really kind of a mythical, and maybe falling into the tendency of Black people to create these mythical leaders. But from what I'm reading and hearing, he's discouraging and inviting people to say, look, let's stay humble.
Yes.
Let's keep working and let's be serious. And I heard one speech where he said, the problem with our people that we have to fight is fear and ignorance in us.
Yes.
And if we can change our attitude to one of courage and the pursuit and acquisition of knowledge, and then the application of knowledge with courage for the development and the life affirming of our people, we're on the right track. And he says that what we need in Africa is a sense of integration. And I said, well, what's he talking about? Because we grew up here in this country with integration being something that had a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we wanted to not be deprived of things that our tax dollars and our birthright and our citizenship rights should afford us, and segregation kept us from those things that we were actually funding. Our labor and our work, funding privilege for them, disadvantage for us. So therefore, integration was a strategy to make sure we got our hands on and access to those things that we ought to have as citizens like everybody else. But the double-edged sword was sometimes that work to dilute our ability to collaborate and to work with each other. So I hear Traore saying integration, and what he's saying, which is cool to me, is Africa is 54, 55 countries that have no basis except for the European conference, where European colonists decided how they would partition sections of Africa to exploit and maintain European wealth and power. And so even when we went through the periods of emancipation, of liberation, of becoming independent of the European former colonial masters, we kept ties, and they allowed us to emerge from that condition, but with ties in our infrastructure that kept us bound in ways that ultimately we discover remain unhealthy and keep us poor amid all the riches we possess. So he's saying that why don't we look at integrating ourselves in the continent? And the question becomes, will we and shall we, over a period of time, integrate ourselves on the planet? Will African people, will Black people see ourselves as connected globally? And as I began, I talked to Gary and Gail about the notion of our understanding of being our truest self means that we are, at the end of the day, human beings. And the freedom we seek for ourselves is a freedom for every human being.
Yes.
Gary, talk about that. What you think? And how does walk us through your catalog and how your catalog affirms that feeling?
Yes, sir. I'll do my best, Brother Al. In reverse order, though, yes, our brother is for real. To me, he is in the spirit of not only Marcus Garvey, but also Patrice Lumumba and Sakaturi. You know, I mean, you can go all the way Shaka Zulu. He is a warrior king with Africa in and around his heart. And so for anyone, he's definitely the real deal, just to dispel that. And musically, we have tried to portray what you just so eloquently, Brother Gail. Brother Al is the master of eloquence. I mean, as you just heard. But we try to incorporate that, as you know, and thank you for supporting it, brother, because not all radio stations had the courage to support our songs. They play optimistic and our feel good songs, and God bless them for that. But when we came out with Woke and Black Lives Matter and Time for Reparations, what? So yeah, those titles were motivated by those events and by people like yourselves, who articulate it and bring it out to the people, because we can make all the music we want. There's a scripture that says, how will they hear without a preacher? Well, when it comes to music, how will they hear without a DJ? How will they hear without an Al McFarlane and Conversations and KFAI? So I throw that right back to you, brother, with all respect and a chance to publicly thank you for your brotherhood, your support, your friendship, your consciousness, and your consistency with all of the above.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, brother. And so, I want to go back to the beginning of the Sounds and the mission again. The same question I asked Brother Lord Jamar, and that is, when the mission presented itself to you, how did you discover it? How did it discover you? And walk me through the expanding evolution of the work in you.
Yes, sir. So first of all, a shout out to our dear brother Russell Knighton, a native of Beaumont, Texas. He is the original founder of the McAllister Black Voices, which we later renamed when he blessed me as he was about to graduate and pass directorship of the group on to me. And that was January of '71. So we're in our 54th year right now as an organization. And Sounds of Blackness, the name was inspired by the late, great Duke Ellington. Now, that surprises a lot of people when I say that, because we hear Duke's name and we think of jazz, as we certainly should. But too many people don't know that Duke wrote and recorded African music, blues, spirituals, gospel, every sound of blackness. So he did the music of the culture. So that's the meaning and origin of the name Sounds of Blackness from January of '71 at our alma mater, McAllister College. So a shout out to them. And from '71 now to 2025, we now currently have Brother Al and Brother Gail, a number of members who are actually offspring of original members. For example, so this is Sounds of Blackness second generation, and the tremendous lead voice that you hear on We're Unstoppable. And you'd mentioned the great Ann Nesby, and shout out to her, but it's her daughter, Jamesia Bennett.
That's right.
Who is also an artist in her own right. And also, we're blessed. We wanted this to be a youth-oriented project, We're Unstoppable, because it's so important. They are not only our future, they are our present as well. And so a shout out to the family band None Above. They are absolutely amazing. They're finalists on America's Got Talent. They're just amazing, and everybody should check out on their own None Above. And of course, the Atlanta Drum Academy. A few months ago, a viral video of this young drum corps in Atlanta playing to Optimistic. When folks were waking me up, man, if you turn the YouTube on, you got to see this drum corps they're playing up, and so it was like, we must connect with and collaborate with them. I reached out to their instructor, Brother James, and flew down to Atlanta a few months ago and recorded their tracks for We're Unstoppable. And by the grace of God, it's all come together. So just amazingly recorded and mixed by our dear friend and brother, Carl Deemer at Atomic K Studios. And so shout out to Jamesia, to None Above, to Atlanta Drum Academy, and of course, to Minnesota's own 3-time Grammy Award-winning Sounds of Blackness for bringing We're Unstoppable to your ears.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and that's wonderful. And Gail, let me bring you in, because all of this connects to what you and I are doing in preserving and creating meaning and memory. Memory is the most important thing. Yeah. Gary, I think you might have heard me say this before. I visited relatives of mine who went, we came like you from Jamaica to here. Some of our family went from Jamaica to London, right? So I was visiting cousins in London and had my first ride on a double-decker bus in downtown London. And my cousin was saying, pointing out the sightseeing stuff, hour, 2 hours ride.
Right.
And what I noticed is that on every corner, there were statues. Lord this, Duke this, Count this, King this, Queen that, Duchess this. And so I said, dang, no wonder they think they all that, because they remind themselves every day that the world is their idea, even though they're wrong. That's their practice, right? And so when they come and practice erasure, right, by plowing through the vibrant economic and residential center of our community, as Rondo was a victim of, and as Brother Lord Jamar said, communities were around the country Their intention, however, does not match our resilience and our resistance and our purpose and our being. When we talked last week, I kind of brought this up with brother
was it Kadar that you?
Kadar, yeah, brother. I'm thinking his dad, Bobby.
Yeah,
Kadar Hickman. I was so appreciative of the conversation because I led off with the idea of our community, experiencing a destruction, and he came back and said, "Nah. That may have been their intention. That may have been how they defined it, but we don't accept it that way. And we're here, and we modify, we pivot, and in the history, in the context of all of it, we continue to create and to change and to affect the world." And so you were doing that. It gave me a different appreciation of why you, Gail, and Kadar, and that generation is so confident, so necessarily confident, so appropriately confident, and so powerfully confident. So talk about this mission from your point of view as an organizer.
Yeah.
Why Rondo's a reflection of that?
So one of the things that, when Kadar and I, when we were young and in college and used to sit around and have these conversations about what type of men we wanted to be, we had a clear understanding that we were suffering from, what do we used to call it? I think we used to call it genetic amnesia, where we were so disconnected to the generation prior to us, right? Where you guys are old, man. We don't want to listen to what you have to say. Like, we're the cool generation, right? All that's like played out, and not really taking the time to connect that memory, right? And really be rooted in that memory. And so as me and my guys, as we started to mature, we were understanding the purpose of being able to stand on the shoulders of giants. And if you disconnect from that genetic memory, then you're missing that opportunity to stand on those shoulders. And what we started to see as we would look back at history is, without that connection, you're starting over every generation. You can't avoid the mistakes of the last generation. And so that was one of the ways that we've seen ourselves as Black people kind of spinning in this cycle, because we refused, because of egos or whatever it was, to stand on the shoulders of those that came before us and really understand what that struggle was like, and really, instead of looking at people outside of our people to follow and how to model, we started to look inwards and started to look at our fathers and the impact that they had on the community, and look at the influences that my grandfather had in the old Rondo community. My grandpa was welfare at the time, right? You had a ton of people coming from Mississippi, Louisiana, and they needed somewhere to go to understand the landscape of this environment. And they would show up at, Grandpa Smaller's porch, and he would give them whatever money he had, find a place for them to flop, take them down to the railroad station, see if he could get them a job, run them over to the meat packing factory, and would help people get on their feet. And it really showed the value of that connectivity. And if I wouldn't have been aware of that, then maybe I would have been moving through the world as an individual, not connecting that, not understanding that there was this whole tree behind me that I was responsible for. And understanding that makes me really understand the impact of community, right? So one tree standing alone is great, but now when you have a forest, now that's a whole nother, people that can get air and oxygen. I mean, it provides a whole nother type of situation. And so when I understand the purpose of what Rondo Days was to do, right? Rondo Days is not about a party, right? We have fun when we're doing it. Everybody enjoys themselves, the music, but it's about building those connections and understanding, oh man, my cousin has a baby by your brother, and and just really starting to build those connections. So when we move through our communities, we have that connection. And I'm looking at every brother as my brother. I'm looking at every sister as my sister. I'm looking at us all as family, getting away from that selfish nature. If you're hungry and I have it, why don't you have it?
Right.
And that's what built Rondo. That's what built us as a people. That's how we were able to survive all of these, bad situations that were presented to us, is because we looked inside and leaned on each other. I was just in an interview with a guy, and he was talking about his grandpa didn't even know that there was a depression during the Great Depression, right? They didn't even know, right? Like, what are you talking about? Because They always leaned on each other. They always did anything, right?
Yeah.
So they weren't jumping off buildings. They were just pulling their pores together and pooling food the way that we've always done. So there's a type of resiliency within our spirit when we are able to reach and build that connection and understand that I'm not standing in this world as an individual. There's millions and millions of Black people that care, that love, that are standing behind me, even if I can't see them.
Yes, sir. I'm so glad you mentioned that, what the essence of Rondo, Brother Gail, because when the Hines family moved here to the Twin Cities from Yonkers, New York, as I said earlier, it was early mid-'60s, right at the time when it was happening, where 94 was coming through the Black community in St. Paul, 35W was coming through the Black community in South and North Minneapolis, where we reside. And you know what? I remember this clearly. Many of the leaders and our mentors at the time, Brother Harry Davis and Reverend Stanley King and Big Bob Williams of the Lakers and all that. The majority culture was calling, and this was happening all across the country under the banner of urban renewal, but they called it Negro removal. And I remember that as a kid. No, it ain't urban renewal, it's Negro removal, and it was nationwide.
And so we resist, right? And we overcome, and we keep standing, we keep moving forward. As you say, Brother Gary, we are unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
And when you put that attitude on, Gail, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it allow you to do? What does it compel you to do?
Well, it compels me to move through the world with an understanding that I'm unstoppable, and understanding that it's okay to fall, because there's a whole generation, there's multiple generations of people that will help pick you back up if your intentions are in the right place. It's not about a money grab, right? If you adjust your focus, that doesn't align with our spiritual principles. But if it's about community, if it's about being selfless, if it's about giving, then you're gonna win. You're gonna be unstoppable, because the power of us as a people is so powerful that it's gonna propel you forward. It's when we fall off and stop being disciplined and start looking at ourselves before others and start to embody some of those principles that we lose our way and we sometimes fail. But as long as we stand up, stand tall, and represent the interests of our people and what we're doing, we can't lose. You know, when we were bringing Rondo back in 2024, we started our festival, Mr. McFarlane, we had probably $6. And the community came through. I mean, people were calling like, yeah, what do you need? You know, like I was saying on the call, Sister Makia, she gave us money out of her own organizational budget. You know, we had people giving us donations to where we were able to do, you know, what my dad is calling one of the best Rondo days that he's seen, and he's the founder, you know, so because it was rooted back in what it was rooted in. We didn't do a lot of promotion. It was really a lot of word of mouth. Every single person in that park knew somebody or knew the person standing next to the other person. And it was a sense about community. And one of the jokes I was going to say, Mr. Hines, is if you can't get to Africa this summer, Rondo Days is going to be the closest to that experience. So
yes, sir.
Make it, man, and feel that spirit of Black people sharing that love. Make sure that you can make it out. So.
Yes.
Let me thank B Street and Michelle's Delicious Delights for their comments. Tina Summers, thank you for your comments too. And we appreciate all of you listening and sharing your thoughts, giving us feedback on this important conversation. Well, brothers, you know, I think it's always important to talk about the vision. Try to, and I'll ask you, to go inside and look at, you know, what we will have created in the year, that's what it was, in the year 2063. Why that year? I think I was listening to a brother named P.L.O. Lumumba. Familiar with him at all? You've heard him, Gary? You know him?
I do not.
Okay, Gail. So check the brother out. He's a lawyer out of Kenya. And he's one of the principal organizers, spokespersons, analysts of the movement of African liberation. He's the one that challenges the conditions of volunteer servitude that the collaborators have rendered for personal gain and against the vision of the Thomas Sankaras, the Kwame Nkrumahs and the revolutionaries that fought for freedom for African people. And so he talked about, because we're talking about everybody's talking about the 2025. What's the Trump? Was it Project 20?
Right, Project 2025. Yes.
This guy yesterday, I was listening to Dr. Lumumba, Dr. P.L.O. Lumumba. He said, "Well, we have a document called Africa 2063." Holy Moses! There it is, gentlemen. And so the question is, we need to, and how do we ensure that we create a global awareness and buy-in to Africa 2063? He said in the speech I heard on YouTube yesterday, he was addressing, I forgot who it was. He said, "Many of you will have gone upstairs by that time." He smiled. "Will have transitioned to ancestorship. But knowing that, what will we have done to lay the groundwork for the future we have to create for humanity centered on our people, our sovereignty, and on a unified," and he used the term as in the way Captain Traore used it, an integrated Africa, where the economies are integrated in ways that, as you said, we have all these trees, Gail. What if we recognize and operate through the power of a forest of many trees that are in effect an ecosystem that provide oxygen for the entire nation, for the planet? Gail, what's your vision? What do you think we should be doing to bring 2063? Not having read that document, but in your spirit, what do we have to do? And Gary, I'll ask the same thing of you.
But one thing I think, and what we've really been working on at NERC, which is the Northside Residence Redevelopment Council, part of the community organization that I work with, and what we've been looking at doing through Rondo Avenue Inc. is really starting to lay down a vision of autonomy. And what does that look like for the Black community to start to move itself towards being autonomous and not relying on external forces? It may be a struggle and it may be hard, but when we're looking at 40 years from now, what are we young people training our kids about? What elders are we connecting our children to start to create this comprehensive vision? Because as young people, man, we think we know everything, right? We don't see those hurdles that are in front of us. And so I think part of our vision is really looking at how do we start to take the $1.3 trillion that we're generating every year as a race within this country and start to find ways to trust each other enough to start to make those dollars independent. There's no reason why we don't have a national bank within the United States that we're using to leverage our money. We're using the loan to our small businesses and really hindering that dependence on outside entities to be able to help us as we move in our agendas forward. And I think that's really what my generation is really working on, is starting to try to lay the foundation and really train our children to intentionally follow in our footsteps. You met my parents, Mr. McFarlane. I didn't have a choice, right? Like, this is what you were born and raised to do, and you're going to do it, you know?
That's right.
Really training our children on being intentional and removing that, you know, that genetic amnesia, and start to work on that genetic memory and being able to connect. You know, there was a story that I heard about elephants and how their generational memory works. There was a group of farmers that killed a big portion of the tribe of elephants. And these elephants would come back every year for the last 50 years and stomp out their crops. As payback for destroying their people, you know? And so that genetic memory is really intentional development. And so really focusing on looking at what we can do as a people, what we can't do, looking at our resources, looking at our human resources and our community assets, and really starting to bring them together so that we can move towards a more autonomous vision of our communities and how we maintain them and control our education and control our health and control the way that our mindsets develop in the future. And I think that is one of the things that will help us be more confident in connecting with other African nations around the world, because we have to be able to put our first our strongest foot forward and be able to debunk a lot of the stereotypes that get attached to us as a people. But once we're as a people able to do those things, I think we'll have a lot more confidence in connecting with people around the world and around the nation to be able to start to build and create that web of African peoples around the globe.
Gary, what do you think? As well said. Well said.
Yes, sir. I think at the center of it, my brothers, is the same answer that I gave to many people when George Floyd was murdered. And I was asked by my sincere, well-meaning people, what tangibly can and should we do? And I think my response to them is the same as I have now for you, Brother Al, and that is to become a student of history.
Mm-hmm.
Now that may sound academic and sometimes, you know, some sort of way kind of thing, but it's really tangible, because no matter what we do, no matter how many programs we have, no matter how much money is thrown at it, unless and until we really know who we are, we can't see ourselves. And you know what? Unless and until others know our history and who we are, what we've contributed to world history and to their own lives, as well-meaning as they may be, it's impossible for them to see us as equals. How is it that we can go in the world and not know that the richest king of all time, Mansa Musa of Mali, they couldn't even estimate his wealth, as I know you well. Now they say, you know, $400 billion. I mean, you know, made Bill Gates look like he was on welfare. How do we not know about Mansa Musa? How do we not know about Queen Nzinga? How do we not know about the great Nubian empires, and on and on and on, that Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. And you are a whole different person when you know that about yourself. And so to me, that's key. And Sounds of Blackness continue to try to send that message across by way of music, as Stevie Wonder said, which is the universal language.
Brothers, what a great conversation. So good to be with you. Great to have had Lord Jamar on. Gail, let me ask you to extend the invitation again to Rondo. And then what I want to do is, after that, take a 20-second listen again to a sample of We're Unstoppable, Brother Gary. Gail, invitation.
Yeah, so this Saturday, July 19th, we'll be at MLK Park for the Rondo Days Historic Festival. Free to the public, good music, good food. Bring your kids. From 11 o'clock until 1 o'clock, we'll be hosting a senior brunch in the MLK Center for all of those seniors. DJ by Brother Chaz Millionaire. And we'll have the Juneteenth sisters helping out with serving plates. It's going to be a beautiful day. So please make sure that you can come out and enjoy it with us.
Awesome. And Gary, where can people get We're Unstoppable? When does that drop? Is it out already, or when's it coming out?
The release date for We're Unstoppable is the 25th of this month, July 25th. You know, you'll be starting to hear it before then, as you are now on Conversations with Al McFarlane, and on our website, soundsofblackness.org. And so we thank everybody for your support, and never forget that we're unstoppable.
There we go. Well, let's close with that sample again. Jared, let's play that, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Unbreakable, unblockable, and together we're unstoppable. We will be brilliant and phenomenal. Yeah. Unconceivably resilient and remarkable. Indestructible, destroying us impossible. And forever we're unstoppable. Never going back, never going back. Whatever comes our way. Inspiration, hold back, sticky power, roll back. Unstoppable. We're unstoppable. Ain't never ever going back. Unstoppable. We're unstoppable.
Okay. We'll see you next time. I'm Al McFarlane. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, brother.